going to get, as opposed to really read what was open. I thought we also over dribbled. We got dribble happy. We tried to make a play on our own instead of moving the ball. It's going to be really good for us when the ball moves. We have ball movement and player movement. It's really fun to watch. It makes the game really easy. And I felt like for whatever reason, we were a little resistant to that tonight. We just got to make the easy play.
Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are diving deep into what can only be described as an absolute civil war within the professional basketball community. If you thought the media circus was going to settle down once the 2026 season officially tipped off, you were dead wrong. The Indiana Fever recently announced two major organizational updates: the reveal of their official opening night roster and a celebratory post congratulating head coach Stephanie White on her appointment to the USA basketball coaching staff. On paper, these should be moments of celebration and hype. You have a roster packed with young generational talent and a head coach receiving one of the highest national honors in the sport. But one look at the comment sections tells a completely different story. The level of fan hostility is unlike anything this league has ever experienced. This is not random internet noise. This is a highly sophisticated, data-driven fan base that is meticulously analyzing every substitution, every play call, and every social media metric the team puts out. The fans are no longer just watching the game. They are aggressively auditing the organization. When the Fever posted about Stephanie White joining USA Basketball, the backlash was instantaneous. There is a rapidly growing narrative, backed by frustrating on-court evidence, that the coaching staff is intentionally stifling the greatest offensive weapon the league has ever seen. The word sabotage is thrown around continuously in the comment sections, and today we are going to look at the raw numbers, the digital metrics, and the roster layout, and to see if these fans actually have a valid point, or if this is just blind loyalty gone too far. The divide between traditional fans and the new wave of viewers is widening every single day. Traditionalists often write off these new fans as trolls pushing toxic agendas. But the engagement data from the Fever's own accounts makes it undeniably clear that these so-called trolls are the exact demographic keeping the lights on and the arenas sold out. Let us look closely at the names on the board. The official 2026 opening night roster is locked in. We have Kelsey Mitchell, Hines Allen, Raven Johnson, Aliyah Boston, Sophie Cunningham, Lexi Hull, Damiris Dantas, Justine Pellington, Michaela Onyenwer, Temi Fagbinley, Monique Billings, Shaturi Walker-Kimbrough, Tyasha Harris, and occupying the center of the basketball universe, Caitlin Clark. On a surface level, this team is built for terrifying speed and dominant length. You have Aliyah Boston locking down the paint with Defensive Player of the Year capabilities. You have Kelsey Mitchell, one of the most reliable scorers in the league, and you have the massive addition of Sophie Cunningham, who brings veteran toughness and a desperately needed perimeter threat. But the burning question for the fan base is not about the accumulation of talent. It is about the offensive hierarchy. When a franchise drafts a generational paradigm-shifting talent, the standard rules of veteran hierarchy are supposed to be thrown out the window. You do not ask a franchise quarterback to hand the ball off 40 times a game just to keep the backup running backs happy. You build the entire system around the sun. The fans are noticing that Stephanie White's system treats their biggest star like just another piece of the puzzle. There is a baffling insistence on keeping her off ball. Playing off ball means running exhausting screens as a decoy to open driving lanes for others, rather than operating as the primary ball handler who dictates the pace. The logic fed to the media involves fatigue management or preventing double teams. But the fans are entirely rejecting this narrative. They see a player who thrives on rhythm and playmaking being forced into a rigid role that neutralizes her greatest strengths. The lingering fear is that the Fever are trying to win by committee when they have a singular player who can win games by sheer force of will if just given the keys to the offense.
About to bring up is not the end of the world. It truly isn't. But when you had Caitlin Clark and Ryan Howard clearly be the two best players on the floor and have the best games last night in that game versus Senegal, why are both of them still coming off of the bench? And also, if we look at the three faces of this Team USA team, the three most popular players, it's Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers, and Angel Reese. Now, Angel Reese started in the first game and Paige Beckers started in this game. I don't understand why Caitlin Clark is still coming off the bench. And I get it. It's not, I'm gonna reiterate this. It's not that big of a deal that she's not starting. But I do, let's be honest.
Now let us talk about the digital economy of the sport, because this is where the fan base proved their point beyond a shadow of a doubt. The Indiana Fever social media team posted individual digital player cards for the entire roster. In the modern era, view counts on promotional posts are a direct reflection of who the paying public actually cares to see. Unsurprisingly, the post featuring the franchise point guard skyrocketed, clearing 378,000 views in a matter of hours. This is the undeniable effect that packs arenas, secured massive television deals, and forced charter flights to become a reality. But the real revelation came when analyzing the digital footprint of the rest of the team. Sophie Cunningham's post garnered a staggering 357,000 views, proving she has become a vital marketing factor for the franchise. Raven Johnson pulled in 152,000 views, proving the younger generation's hype is still dominating the timeline. Then we witnessed the brutal drop-off. Lexi Hull sat at 73,000 views, Justine Pellington at 65,000. And the most shocking metric was Kelsey Mitchell, sitting at a surprisingly low 31,000 views. Mitchell is an established all-star and veteran locker room leader. But in the ruthless eyes of the digital audience, there is an unbridgeable gap between established veterans and the new cultural icons. When nearly 400,000 people are actively monitoring one player and only 30,000 are watching another, the head coach cannot tactically treat them as equals in the closing, crucial minutes of a game without facing an absolute public relations disaster. The fans feel that the coaching staff is trying to dim the spotlight to protect the fragile egos of the veterans, and the raw numbers prove the entire world is only interested in staring directly into that spotlight. This brings us to the heart of the current frustration, which is the controversial congratulatory post for Coach White. Normally, when a head coach is selected to represent the country on the USA basketball staff, the comments are a unified wall of praise and national pride. Not this time. The comment section immediately turned into a graveyard filled with demands for termination and relentless criticism. One highly liked comment stated that the fans simply cannot wake up from this nightmare. Another user aggressively questioned whether the coach was going to force the team's best player off the ball in the World Cup as well. There is a fundamental lack of trust between the Indiana Fever front office and the people buying the tickets. The fans believe that Stephanie White is actively damaging the trajectory of a legendary career, not to mentor or develop, but to control and suppress. They frequently cite her coaching history at Vanderbilt, claiming she damaged that collegiate program, and they are terrified she is doing the exact same thing to the Fever's closing championship window. Some comments even suggested that the coaching staff prioritizes internal league politics and veteran appeasement over the ruthless goal of winning games with their most lethal weapon. While those are heavy accusations, they stem from a real and palpable place of sporting frustration. When you have a player universally marketed by the league as the undisputed face of the franchise, and you watch the head coach run outdated plays that result in terrible turnovers and a stagnant offense, the fans feel entirely gaslit. The bitter irony of the USA basketball selection is that many fans believe this coaching regime is the exact reason their star player faced friction with national team selections in the past. It feels like a direct conflict of interest to a fan base that has become fiercely protective of their superstar. Let us break down the tactical argument further, because this is where the so-called internet trolls demonstrate a remarkably high basketball IQ. The primary grievance is the offensive usage rate and off-ball mechanics. In any standard system, the primary playmaker has the ball in their hands to read the defense, dictate the tempo, and decide when to shoot. In college, this player was the ultimate decision-maker on the floor with the green light the millisecond her sneakers crossed half court. Under the current Indiana system, we are seeing her utilized more like a traditional spot-up shooting guard. She is expected to navigate physical screens, catch the ball on the wing, and decide in a split second to shoot or cycle it back out to the perimeter. The glaring problem is that she is a rhythm-based player who needs the feel of the basketball to dictate the game's flow. When a coach deliberately takes the ball out of her hands, they are not just limiting her scoring output. They are entirely neutralizing her elite ability to manipulate the defense and make every teammate significantly better. The fans accurately point out that the Fever's half-court offense looks boring and stagnant because it relies on slow-developing, isolation-heavy plays that elite defenses have completely figured out. The audience is begging for a fast-paced, transition-heavy style filled with logo threes and deep passes. But the coaching staff seems stubbornly determined to mold a revolutionary talent into a quiet, traditional system player. One of the most heavily supported comments on the recent social media disaster stated that the franchise possesses the one player every coach on the planet would die for. Yet the current leadership is doing everything in their power to quietly kill her personal brand. That is a powerful statement that perfectly encapsulates the modern sports era. This situation transcends basic basketball strategy. It is fundamentally about global brand management. This player is significantly more than just an athlete on a roster. She is a multi-million-dollar corporation. With a signature shoe officially launching in September, the stakes have never been higher. If the coaching strategy makes her look average or passive on television, it directly impacts her global business ventures off the court. The fans are not just defending a point guard, they are defending a cultural icon into whom they have invested enormous amounts of their time, emotion, and money. We also have to address the locker room dynamic. You have proud veterans like Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston, who were the undisputed focal points of this franchise before the new era arrived. In a traditional sporting environment, the highly touted rookie pays their dues, respects the hierarchy, and patiently waits for their turn. But the WNBA right now is not operating in a normal world. The fans are analyzing every frame and seeing a massive disconnect on the hardwood. They notice the subtle body language. They see players rolling their eyes when a contested three-pointer is taken. They replay clips of badly missed passes when the star is standing wide open on the wing. This has birthed a massive movement across social media demanding that the offense be completely unchained. Fans firmly believe that sports media insiders are carrying water for the coaching staff, attempting to justify keeping the superstar in a diminished role to protect the feelings of the veterans. But the fans argue that if the veterans accepted reality and allowed the offense to entirely run through the point guard, everyone's win totals would dramatically increase. It is the classic theory that a rising tide lifts all boats. Instead, the perception is that the coaching staff is actively keeping the tide low so no single player gets too much of the spotlight. Looking ahead to the rest of the 2026 season, the pressure surrounding this team is only going to intensify. With that massive global shoe launch looming in September, the undivided attention of the sports media will be hyper-focused on Indiana. This has officially ceased to be a niche WNBA storyline. It is now a mainstream global marketing event. If the Fever find themselves struggling in the standings, the front office will have to answer to a lot more than just angry Twitter users. They will have to answer to massive corporate investors and broadcast partners. The collective fan base is screaming a simple ultimatum: do not mess this up. The opening night roster is talented enough to be a top 4 team in the league. With Boston's dominant post presence demanding double teams and the lethal perimeter threat hovering near the logo, they should be unstoppable in the pick-and-roll game. But if the head coach continues to play aggressive defense on her own roster, as one deeply frustrated fan described it, then this carefully constructed team is nothing more than a random collection of talent lacking a cohesive soul. The fans have proven they are fully alert and tracking every metric, comparing the 152,000 views of the young core to the struggling metrics of the old guard, and loudly pointing out that the traditionalists are desperately trying to maintain a status quo that is rapidly disappearing. The 2026 Indiana Fever season will go down as the most scrutinized season in the entire history of women's professional sports. The final roster is officially locked in. The coach has secured her prestigious national honors. But the crucial element of public trust is sitting at absolute zero. The front office needs to realize that the people in the comments are not trolls. They are the paying customers. In any other multi-billion-dollar business on earth, if the dedicated customer base is collectively screaming that the premium product is being actively mishandled, upper management steps in and listens. The Fever management needs to make an immediate, franchise-altering decision. They need to decide if they want to remain a safe, traditional team that finishes comfortably in the middle of the pack, or if they are finally willing to embrace the chaos and the offensive brilliance of the modern era. The head coach is on a devastating collision course with a fan base that is smarter, louder, and far more financially invested than any crowd she has ever faced in her entire career. Every regular season game will be treated as a live referendum on her ability to coach. Every single forced off-ball possession will be immediately clipped, analyzed, and turned into a viral compilation of failure. The fans have spoken loud and clear across every single platform. Whether the organization decides to swallow their pride and listen or stubbornly digs their heels in will ultimately determine if 2026 ends with a championship parade or if it marks the chaotic, bitter beginning of the end for this entire coaching staff. The roster is set. The battle lines are officially drawn. Now all we can do is wait for the opening tip-off. Let me know exactly what you guys think down in the comments below. Is the relentless criticism completely fair and justified, or is the internet being way too harsh on a coach who is just trying to balance a complex locker room? Drop your thoughts because we read every single one of them, and I promise you the front office is reading them too. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you do not miss our next deep dive. See you in the next one.